Hi, Dr. Stu Currie here again, continuing in our series of how to use the Mojo Matrix pin scanner. We are now to the point where we are going to order an orthotic. So we're on the analytics page. We've explained to the patient what their numbers are. We've explained and we've seen with Mr. Test here that his numbers are 70 and 54, so we're recommending an orthotic, and now we move to actually placing the order. So to do that, we're going to go back to the scan screen, and we're going to go down to order form. On the order form, you will have all of your clinic information here. This is not filled out fully because it's our home computer. You'll have the patient's name and a few other things that you'll see that I'll walk you through here. You don't have to worry. If you try to place an order without filling out the right information, the system will let you know. It'll flash red over the area you're missing. So you don't have to worry about sending an incomplete order. But there is some information that we need. The shoe size came from the last screen where we already entered that. But we do need a body weight here. So we're going to go down and use a drop-down menu for body weight. And we're going to say Mr. Test weighs 170 pounds. With patients, you have the choice. You can weigh them, or if they know their body weight, usually I'll ask them, what's your body weight? If they hem and haw and have no idea, then you might want to weigh them. If they know their body weight within 5 pounds or so, or fairly certain, you can go ahead and just use their estimate with the drop-down menu here. Activity levels are another way that you can modify an orthotic. It's another way for the clinician to give us information about a patient that may affect their orthotic. So activity levels being high, if you select that, that's another way that we tune the orthotic. We'll consider that a marathon runner, somebody who stands on their feet all day on an assembly line, somebody who's going to put extra weight and pressure and force through this orthotic than we would otherwise calibrate it for. And we'll make it a little bit stiffer. So that's what that activity level does. Age is optional. Some clinics like to place this number in there so they can tell the difference between different patients or just for their file, but it is not mandatory, not a mandatory field. Number of orthotics. If you were ordering one, you would just leave it. And the order number 1 is up over here on the right. If you were ordering a second orthotic, maybe a dress shoe orthotic or a different type of orthotic, you could change that to a 2 and place your second order all in one, all together. So you could pick 2 different styles up here and order it that way. I'm going to go back to 1. We're just going to order 1 today. Shoes, not applicable. Shipping, if it's a rush order, there is a charge for that. That's in our manual, our prices and policies list. You can click rush and we can do that for you, but there is a charge. Okay, so ordering an orthotic. Let's simplify this for you. So I'm going to give you the most common scenarios. The most common scenario is that you go over here, you've decided to order the orthotic, you select style, you pick a Mojo standard, which is our standard template, and these are just templates for you, so you don't have to make all of the selection. It's our long length white plastic, which you don't see anymore, so it's sort of not necessary, but you can change the color of the plastic. And the top cover defaults to our ultra suede 3mm. If you selected this, 80% of your orthotics are going to be, or 90% even, are going to be between ultra suede and D3O with our full length top cover. So once you click those selections and you pick your top cover, you're done with your top cover. Now let me pause just a second to talk about the different options. So what I've selected there is our standard Mojo full length 3mm. This is a D3O, which is the orange foam you can see here. Talk about that in a minute. That's what you've selected with this template. All right, we have lots of other options. There are a lot of different ways to modify an orthotic. You can make it shorter, make it thinner, shallow the heel cup, deepen the heel cup, make it narrow. You can do all kinds of things to an orthotic. I'm going to make your life a little easier and just let you know that very few of those are clinical reasons. The vast majority of those options are there if you are trying to fit something into a shoe that possibly the orthotic is not a good match for anyway, right? The options are there for those patients that tell you, look, doc, I'm on my feet all day at work. I have to wear these, dress shoe type flat things, and we need to make an orthotic that goes into that because at the end of the day is when I feel my most pain at work. Fair, right? But before you get there, you're probably going to want to have a conversation with the patient about whatever their problem is and the fact that you want to design them the most controlling orthotic that you can. Anytime you modify an orthotic, thin it out, you lose some cushion. Narrow it up, you actually lose a little bit of the arch. Shallow the heel cup, you lose some control in the heel. So generally you don't want to make those decisions unless shoe wear forces you to, right? Or let's say soccer cleats, football cleats, that kind of thing, you may narrow and shallow some stuff up. All right, but for the vast majority of people, and that includes most men's dress shoes, casual shoes, running shoes, can fit a standard orthotic. You pull the insole out of it and replace it, pull the manufacturer's insole and replace it with this. Women's casual shoes, running shoes, usually fine too. Where we get into tricky situations is typically with women's tight, constricting, low volume dress shoes. So for that, you may go here and choose Mojo Dress, which gives us a short length. It's going to thin out the top cover. So now you see that it's 1.5 millimeters instead of 3 millimeters, and it's going to be shorter. I should pause here and let you know that you do have samples of this stuff. You have samples of all of our top covers, right, in swatches. You have a short and a long orthotic for demo and decisions with patients. All right, so modifying the orthotic is certainly an option. You do see all kinds of other options here, met pads, heel cushions, other things like that. I'm going to pause for a second, talk about the fact that with a Mojo full contact orthotic that's made to a corrective position, most of the pads and posts and lumps and bumps we find are not necessary that you can put on an orthotic. However, we do have them as options, but what we do ask is that because they are so rarely used, if you do select one, we want you to put C notes, and then you're going to go back to the notes section here and write whatever modification that you want. Okay? So the options are all there, but 80 or 90% of your orthotics are going to be Mojo standard, and then you're just picking a top cover. Speaking of top covers, let's talk about the different types we have. So if I bring up our new scanner packet, again, we have the pros and cons of all the Mojo top covers. I'm not going to go through each individual one on this video. I will tell you that Ultra Suede is one of our bulletproof top covers. That's why it's the default. When you select Mojo Standard, it defaults to that. Generally, your decision is going to be between Ultra Suede and D3O, which is the 3 millimeter down here. What's D3O? D3O is this foam. Okay, so it's the orange foam. I don't make it. It's made and developed by a different company, but it is a little bit more expensive in the top cover for me, but I do not pass it on to you. It's a value add to our orthotics. One of the things I feel is that some of the next advances in orthotics are going to be in materials. This is a really cool one that we love. So D3O, I'm going to show you their website. When you order an orthotic with D3O, it comes with a little tag that says powered by D3O on the website, so your patient can go see all the ways that it is used. You can check it out yourself. It's used in a lot of different things. It is impact protection. It returns more force when you load it differently. So here's what it is. This foam is a strain rate dependent foam. So In other words, it changes how much it pushes back on you based on how quickly or the speed with which you load it. So you can see here on this website, it's used in NFL helmets, it's used in all kinds of gear where you have the need to be flexible when you're moving slowly, but if you get hit or you have impact, you want the molecules to firm up and return more energy to whatever it is hitting you, right? With a foot orthotic, the way that plays out is this foam will be a little softer when you're just kind of standing on it, right? Moving slowly on it. But when you go to run on it, it will bounce back and return more energy to your foot. So it's a really cool property of something that can change its behavior based on how fast you load it. We love it. Athletes love it. It's a great foam, and we offer it in our orthotics. As far as I know, Mojo is the only company that puts this in a custom orthotic. All right. So I'm going to minimize that. I want to keep talking about the different options here and how to order. As I mentioned, one last thing on this, all top covers have a pro and a con, right? One of the cons for D3O is that this black fabric may wear out a little quicker than our bulletproof Ultra Suede. So Ultra Suede's bulletproof, lasts forever, does a great job. Its downside, as outlined in that chart, is that it absorbs a little bit more moisture in the beginning. Until it packs out and gets shiny, the Ultra Suede will absorb a little bit more moisture. D3O doesn't do that. However, you may notice over time the orange will start to show through the top cover. Now, that's not functional. It's just this black material over top of it that we don't have a choice of right now that is wearing out, and you can see the orange through the top, right? Not a big deal. This usually happens on the order of, a year or two. At that point, a lot of people are replacing their orthotics anyway, either for because their foot has changed some, or anything you put in your shoe, and most patients understand that anything you put in your shoe after a year or two, it may not look or smell or be the best at that point, right? And you can always send this back to MojoFeet, and we will completely refurbish this for a small fee, right? So you can get a brand new, good-looking orthotic if nothing has changed about the patient's foot. I tell you all of that because custom orthotic costs money, and some people want it to last forever. If they have that expectation, D3O is probably not the top cover to use because it may wear out a little sooner. Obviously, if it wears out too quickly within our warranty period, that's something we just replace for you. Okay, great top cover. Lots of options here. Rounding out the choices, you can see that our choices are Ultra Suede, Bioskin, Cordura, and they're delineated by A, color, and B, the thickness of the top cover. So you got a few choices here. Again, like I said, most of the time you're going to be picking between Ultra Suede 3mm and D3O. So let's say we're going to order Ultra Suede for this patient. We have decided to place the order. We are going to click place order. Again, if there's something you haven't filled out here, it'll let you know. So you place order, confirm order. You'll go back to this screen and there will be a message saying file successfully queued for transmission. Great, you click OK. Up here in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you will see a number 1 that sits beside the MojoFeet logo. That just appeared. That used to be a 0. That number 1 indicates you now have one orthotic waiting in the queue to be delivered to us. So MojoFeet's server will ping your machine every 2 minutes and look for orders that are in the queue. If it finds one, it yanks it up, right? So the longest this should sit here is about 2 minutes if you're connected to the internet. The only way that orders sit here and accumulate without being sent to us is if you're not connected to the internet. Typically, there's 2 ways that happens. Number 1, You're talking to a patient, you close the laptop, you walk away before it gets sent, right? Number two, you change your Wi-Fi password and forget to change it on this computer, right? So for some reason you've lost connection to the internet, your orthotic orders will not send. They won't be lost. They'll queue up. In that queue, that 1 will become a 2 or a 3 or a 4 until you get connected to the internet, and our system will pull it down, and this number will go back to a 0, as it just did. So you saw that order sent, right? So summary, you want this number sitting at 0. That means you have 0 orders waiting to be sent to MojoFeet. If you have a number there, you're likely not connected to the internet. Once you send the order, if it gets to Colorado, where our lab is, before 4 o'clock on Mountain Time, that is considered day 1. You have the order in on day 1. Business day 5 is what we commit that we'll ship it out back to you 2-day FedEx. So basically 7 business days from the time you place that order, you'll have the orthotic back. I generally recommend that if you're scheduling patients, 2 weeks is safe, right? To schedule a 2-week follow-up where the patient brings in some of their common shoes that they're going to put the orthotic in, and you can have a fitting session and have the patient try out. That's going to be a topic for another video, but for now, you know how to place the order. You've placed it, and it has officially been sent and received by MojoFeet. You don't need any other confirmation. We have it, and we're now working on it. That's the end of this video. We're going to continue along with some of the other topics as we go. Thank you for listening.